1-7, rewriting formulas. Every formula defines one variable in terms of other variables. By using equation solving properties, you can manipulate a formula so that any one of the variables is defined in terms of the rest of the variables. So just because it's solved for volume does not mean you can't take a formula and solve it for height, per se. And that's what we are doing today. Example 1 says, Justin Case is an engineer for a barrel manufacturing company. He wants to design a cylindrical barrel to contain 500,000 cubic centimeters of liquid and is considering several different radii and heights. To do this, it is useful to solve the volume formula for H in terms of R. So here's the formula, V equals pi r squared H, for H in terms of V and R. So what we want to do is solve for H. So that means you get H by itself. Okay. And then it will be in terms of V and R. Okay. So V equals pi r squared H. And we want to solve for H. So I got to take pi r squared and move it to the other side. Well, the inverse of multiplying is division. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So H equals now volume divided by pi r squared. So we took a formula that was solved for volume, and now we turned it so we could find out the best height that we could get for that volume. Okay? B says, find the height of the find the height of the barrel with radius 30 that will contain 500,000 cubic centimeters of liquid. Well, 500,000 cubic centimeters of liquid is our V, so I'm going to put 500,000 in for V divided by pi, and then R is 30, and then we square it. And that's going to tell us our height. And so we go to our calculator. Sorry. Thought I already had it up. But you take 500,000 then. Take 500,000, divide it by pi, and pi is located right here. Divide by pi, and divide it by 900. And that's going to tell me that my height needs to be 176.83 centimeters. 176.83 centimeters high to get 500,000 cubic centimeters of liquid. Now, would they round up? Probably so. It says the formulas for V equals pi r squared H and H equaling V divided by pi r squared are equivalent formulas because any V, R, and H that satisfies one of them also satisfies the other. Okay? Remember, we just moved it around. Two formulas are equivalent formulas when the values of the variables that satisfy them are the same. So let's look at Quiz Yourself 1. Okay? Find H when volume equals 500,000 centimeters cubed and R equals 32. Same process. H equals 500,000 divided by pi And now we're going to say 32 squared. Okay? So, I go to my calculator. And the reason why, I guess I should have said that, the reason why I knew 900 was because 30 squared is 900, all right? Many of you should know that as well. So, here I'm going to take 500,000 again. I'm going to divide it by pi again. Pi button's right there. And then I'm going to divide it by 32 squared. And now it's going to tell me that all I need is 155.42 centimeters for my height. 155.42 centimeters. Okay? Simple enough. Example 2. The formula C equals 65T divided by R minus 65 computes the number of C of hours needed for one car driving R miles per hour to catch up to another car that is T hours ahead and driving at 65 miles per hour. Solve the formula for T in terms of C and R. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking that formula right up there, and what I need to do is I need to get T by itself. So I need to get T by itself. So what I have to do is get rid of this R minus 65 from the bottom. So the inverse of dividing by R minus 65 is multiplying by R minus 65. Whatever I do to one side, I obviously have to do to the other side. And so I'm going to write this like this, because it just looks neater. Equals, so those divide out, leaves me with 65T. And I still got to get T by itself, so I got to divide by 65. So my formula now in terms of C and R is T equals C times the quantity, R minus 65, divided by 65. This is T in terms of C and R. See how they say that? You solve for T in terms of C and R, because these are terms because we don't know what they are yet. Those are still variables as well. Quiz yourself too. Why is C equaling 65T divided by R minus 65 undefined when R equals 65? So when R equals 65 and you subtract 65, why is it undefined? Well, it's undefined because we cannot divide by 0. Undefined. So can't divide by 0. Okay? 65 minus 65 is 0. B says, find T if R equals 70 and C equals 10. So I got to take this equation. I didn't remember it. I got to take this equation. C times the quantity R minus 65 divided by 65. And plug those numbers in. So T equals, says C is 10, R is 70, divided by 65. Well, we know 70 minus 65 is 5, correct? Times 10 is 50. So 50 divided by 65 is .769, and we could just say 0.77. So T equals 0.77. Okay? Simple enough. Example 3. Last example. A says solve volume equals pi r squared h for r. And it says assume a fixed volume of 500,000 centimeters cubed. Write the formula for r in terms of h. Okay? So solve v equals pi r squared h for r. So instead of h, we're using r now. So volume equals pi r squared h. And so now instead of getting rid of the h now, or pi and r squared, I need to get rid of the h and pi. Okay? So I can divide by pi and h. So v over pi h equals r squared, but I only want r, so I have to take the square root. So r equals the square root of v all over pi h. Assume a fixed volume of 500,000. Write the formula for r in terms of h only. So what that's saying is, since it's only in terms of h only, that's the only unknown variable. So the square root of 500,000 divided by pi h. And so this is a formula written in terms, a formula for r in terms of h only, because h is our only variable. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll see you all tomorrow.